Hello everyone, welcome to session 5 of module 1, the psychology of testing. In this session, we will cover some of the psychological factors that influence testing, software testing. So we'll discuss several factors like clear objective, why you should be very clear when you are working in a testing organization or in a testing team. Why independent testing is important, how you should give a feedback on defects, and why clear and courteous communication is important while, while communicating with developers and communicating for the defects. So let's first understand what independent testing means, because this is more relevant to ISTQB foundation level exam. So mindset is different if you're building or developing something. So if you're trying to build something, your mindset is it's kind of positive around it. You want to build something, you work positively to build something. Same thing happens with the developers. They are trying to build something. Their mindset is to make things work. But for the testers, mindset is different, because for you want to break things. Your mindset is to find issues what they have made. So testers look for issues or defects in a product, but developers work positively, and the testers are kind of they find issues, they find defects. Their mindset is to find errors in what developers have developed. So there's a difference in the mindset, and because of that, independent testing becomes very important to find issues and defects. As you know, the mindset is different for developers and testers, so it's difficult to find any mistakes in your own work. It's true with every human being. If you are building something, you are making something, it's very difficult to find errors in your own work, to find mistakes in your own work, because your mindset is building things positively, and you won't be able to find errors, as another person who will be looking at your work will notice those errors very easily. So another person will be able to find more issues than the person who developed it. So in a software context as well, developers perform some testing of their code, and then other people perform rest of the testing. So that's why it's kind of independent testing is required. So when developers are developing something, they do perform unit testing and other basic testing, but the actual testing is done by a person who has different mindset, that is a tester, who can perform rest of the testing, and that testing is known as independent testing, testing performed by another person who has not developed the software, is sort of independent testing. And so there are level of independence which we'll discuss later. So independent testing may be carried out at any testing level. So it can be carried out at unit testing, functional testing, integration testing, or system testing level. At any testing level you can perform independent testing. So independent testing avoids author bias and is more effective in finding defects. So due to difference in mindset of developer and tester will be able to find more issues and defects in a product as compared to a developer who himself is developing the software. So that is why independent testing is required in any software testing in any software development organization. Then what are the levels of independence? So different levels of independence in ascending order are, so testing done by developers, person who wrote the code. He'll also when he'll while he's developing the software, his mindset is kind of to make the software work, but when he's testing that same code, his mindset is a bit different. He's kind of trying to figure out that the module or the code that he has written does not break with different scenarios. So this is the least minimum level of independence that can be done. A person who wrote the code himself is doing the testing. That's the minimum level of independence, because the same person cannot have very different mindset while he was developing and then he is testing. Now another person in team, another developer performs the testing. So suppose developer A developed something and developer B is performing testing of the code that developer A developed. So that's a bit higher level of independence, because another developer or another developer is testing the code written by developer A. But since both are developers, he would still not be able to find as many defects as a tester would be able to find the defects, because since both are developer, both will be kind of having similar mindset of constructing or creating the software rather than breaking the software. Another person from a different organizational group does testing. So that is independent test team. So that's more higher level of independence. Like another person from a different organizational group. So a development group would be different, a test group would be different. So that's another level of independence, and that's where testers are able to find more number of defects, because it's a completely different mindset for a different group of people who are doing testing. And the final level of independence, or the highest level of independence, is testing done by a completely different organization or outsourced to an external body. So if development is done in-house and testing is outsourced to another testing organization, then and done by independent testers with a testing mindset, with a mindset to break the software, and that's the highest level of independence. And so the last two levels of independence will be able to figure out most number of defects, because a test group in a different organizational group or a different organization, completely a different organization, has a group of testers who have completely different mindset from developers, and they'll be able to find much more number of defects as compared to developers testing their own work. Then tips for reporting defects or failures. So this is very important when you are working in a test team, because communication, when you are communicating defects or failures, you should always be in a neutral way. So never gloat. Don't criticize or blame developers. Everybody is human being. Developers are also human beings, and human beings make errors. So while developing as well, it might not be their personal capability, or it's not always that they are not capable enough. Because of that, the defects arise. So you should never criticize or blame the developers. There are a lot many other factors due to which defects arise in the software. It might be the development process that needs to be looked at. It might be that developers are new to that technology, they are still learning. So never ever criticize or blame developers for any defects or failures. Should always be constructively critical and discuss defects with developer. Whenever you find a failure or defect, you should be constructive. Go to developers, ask them about the failure, show them the failure, discuss them how it came, discuss them the root cause, whether it's a defect or it's something environmental which you can just go back and re-verify and it's working. So you should be always constructive, communicate in a polite way to the developers, and never criticize or never blame, because it's nobody's individual fault or individual capability that defects arise in a software. So whenever you are reporting or communicating defects, failures, it should be in a neutral way. Then explain that by finding the issue earlier, we can deliver better software. So you need to work as a team. Developers and testers, you need to be as a team. Although it's an independent entity, you are trying to break what they are building, but it has to be, it's a combined effort of both the teams to deliver better software. You both are trying to deliver robust and better defect-free and easy to use software in the market. So whenever you find any failure or error, you need to mention that what worked in the software, what looks good, what functionality is right, what is the best part about the software, and then what doesn't work in the software, what are the defects, where are the problems in the software. So prioritize defects properly. Should not put everything in critical. You should not prioritize every defect as a critical defect. Don't be always pessimistic. So whenever you are talking to developers, always be optimistic. Don't be always pessimistic that this is not working, none of the features are working. So everybody has to work as a team to deliver a better software. So while communicating with developers, you have to tell them whatever is working fine in the software, where the problem is, prioritize the defects properly. Do not prioritize all the defects as critical, and be optimistic and be open and discuss all the issues and failures with developers before raising any defects into the defect management tool. So it's not always possible to discuss each and every defect, but yes, most of the time it's a good idea to just let them know. And if you are doubtful that is it actually a defect or it can be an environmental issue, then definitely go to a developer and discuss with them before raising a defect in defect management software. Then clear and courteous communication is very important. So start with collaboration, not battles. It is very important that you collaborate with development team. So testing and dev team need to collaborate. It's not a battlefield where you are fighting with developers to fix whatever defects you have been raised. So you always need to be polite and helpful. You need to understand what others can feel. You should not blame for the defects that arise into anybody's functionality. It's nobody's fault in development team. Defects can arise because of many other factors. So you need to understand others' feeling, you need to collaborate, you need to be clear and courteous while communicating the defect. Then you need to confirm other team member understands what you're trying to convey. It is very important that developers are able to understand what you're trying to convey to them. Whatever defect or issues you have found, it's very important that you clearly communicate to them and they understand what you want to say. Then improving interpersonal and communication skills. It is very important if you're working as a tester, your interpersonal and communication skill are very, very important, and you need to work on your interpersonal and communication skill if you want to be a successful tester. So as testers, it is critical to communicate our findings in neutral and effective way. Should not blame anybody. It should be always neutral and very effective way. Should not hurt anybody's feeling. You need to keep you need to be very careful that whatever you communicate, whatever you talk about failures, defect doesn't hurt anybody personally in the development team. Problems can occur within team if testers are just seen only as messengers of unwanted news about defects. So testers are not only there to find just defects in the software. There are many other things. They need to collaborate with team. They need to help the developers in lot many other things, not just only to find the defects and just as a messenger of the defects. So they need to help the developers to figure out the root cause, what is causing them. They need to work in a collaborative way as a team to deliver better software. For the software developer or document author, defect information can help them improve their skill and quality of work only if it is provided in a proper way. So for any software developer or any document author, if you provide the defect information in proper way, it will help them to improve their skills and quality of work. So that is why it is very important when you communicate any defect or failure, it's very important you communicate it very effectively and clearly to the developer. We can provide effective risk assessment information for defects found, which will save time and money later and reduce risk. So you should not only be just find the defect and send it to developer or raise it in defect management tool and just be a messenger of defect. You can work a bit deeper, find the root cause, help them to narrow down the issue and help them to figure out and fix it quickly rather than just finding the defect, raising it blindly and asking them to get it fixed. So to conclude, in this session we learned about the psychology of testing and importance of various psychological factors in testing. So different psychological factors that we discussed in this session are the clear objective, that your objective, test objective should be very clear when you are doing testing. We understood independent testing, why independent testing is important and different levels of independence. Then how you should communicate when you find any failures or defects, what should be the feedback on defects, and why clear and courteous communication is important, and why you should work as a collaboration as a team with developers rather than two completely separate entities or just messenger of defects. Thank you.